Here we'll once again see the great Paul Morphy in action. This one is actually a blindfold exhibition against an amateur player named Schulten. I want you to notice how Morphy senses a small inaccuracy, a violation of the principles, and then jumps all over the attack. The power of presence. Here Schulten played e4, e5, f4, the king's gambit. Morphy played d5. An excellent counter. E takes d5, and e4. This type of decision is always a good way to turn a gambiteer against himself. Black insists on not accepting the gambit, but actually sacrificing a pawn of his own to gain this kind of structural advantage. Also, the pawn on d5 now is somewhat weak. He can take it back eventually. And basically what he's done is turn the opponent's tactic against him. Knight c3, knight f6. Here Schulten played d3, and after bishop b4, bishop d2. If Morphy had been playing against somebody a little bit stronger, my guess is he would have played a bit more solidly with black. But in this situation, he chose the unusual move e3. His idea is that he wants to get an initiative. He just wants to attack. So white has played bishop d2, blocking this pin, and he decided he would play e3, opening up the e-file and forcing white to lose two moves. Bishop takes e3, and now everyone, including myself, would expect the move knight takes d5, both attacking the knight and the bishop. But no, Morphy, in Morphy's style, plays the move castle. So white actually played the king's gambit, sacrificing a pawn. Morphy declined the king's gambit and has sacrificed two pawns of his own. It's like they're fighting to give up material. This isn't always the best way to play chess, believe me, but in this game, you're seeing the power of Morphy's intuitive understanding of both his opponent and of the position. Here, the move e3, pawn sacrifice, forced white to play bishop takes e3, and then castling. Morphy's next move is pretty straightforward. It's going to be rook e8. You see, white's king is stuck in the middle of the board. Morphy seized on the moment. He sensed something a little bit off in white's game. And now, he's going to go after the center. After castling, white brought the bishop back to d2. Certainly not the best move, but okay. Once again, you see, rook e8 check is the move you'd expect, but not by Morphy. My guess is that after rook e8 check, Morphy wanted to avoid either knight e4 or knight e2. White can afford to give up a pawn to consolidate the position, and if he plays, for example, knight e2, he's got a lot of pieces defending that square. What Morphy's idea is that he wants to pile up on the e-file and make white have a very hard time protecting his king. So he plays the incredibly unusual decision, bishop takes c3. B takes c3. And now, rook e8 check. Bishop e2. What's the main thing you look to do when you have a pinned piece? Pile up on it. This is Morphy's idea. You see, by removing this knight on c3, he took away one of the defenders of the e2 square. So he gave up a bishop in a semi-open game to do so. That's a risk. That dark square bishop was a very strong piece, but Morphy was playing very specifically, concretely. He's going to pile up on that bishop on e2. He played the move bishop to g4. So now we can feel white's trouble. A move like knight f3. Imagine the pawn structure. After bishop takes f3, g takes f3. Because remember that bishop on e2 is pinned. White can't really castle kingside. After knight takes d5, for example, queen h4 check is coming. This position is really horrible. So white decided to maintain his material. This d5 pawn is there, and even if it wasn't there, black might consider playing knight d5 or queen d5 next move. So the move c4 seemed logical. Like any great player who's sacrificed material, he's not stressed out about winning back material right away. He's developing his initiative. He played c6. The idea of this move is obviously c takes d5 is going to come. And after d takes c6, which is what Schulten played, Morphy brought another attacking piece into the game. Knight takes c6. This is good chess. You've sacrificed material. Now you take the time, develop your pieces, build the pressure on your opponent's game. Schulten has a problem. His bishop on e2 can't move. White has a lot of pressure on his game. He decided to move his king to allow himself to be able to move his bishop. You see here that if knight f3, black can now actually win by force. How do you pile up on that bishop on e2? Here the best move is bishop takes f3 first, removing a critical defender. G takes f3, and then pile up on that bishop on e2. Good. Knight d4. And black is completely winning. There's nothing white can do. Next move's going to be either rook takes e2 or knight takes e2. White can't recapture because he loses his queen. He's going to get mated eventually, and he's losing a piece. So for that reason, in this position, Schulten felt somewhat desperate, and he played the move king to f1. He wants to move that bishop on e2. Okay, Schulten has gotten out of a pin. Now, keep present to the position. It's changed character a little bit. You can't do what you had planned on before, because of course, black's threat was knight d4. He's played king f1. If knight d4 now, then simply bishop takes g4 gets out of the way. The bishop on e2 is no longer pinned, and we change it. Make a pin enter the position once again. Black to move. What did Morphy do here? Morphy played the powerful rook takes e2. And after knight takes e2, look at that. The knight is pinned. The knight can't move because the bishop is pinning it to the queen. So once again, pile up on that pinned piece. Excellent. Knight d4. Here white's position is in desperate trouble. Here Schulten saw that he couldn't play knight takes d4 because of bishop takes d1. He can't defend that knight again, so he decided to get his queen out of the way. He played the move queen b1. Now, Morphy continued the attack. What do? Right. Bishop takes e2 check. King f2. Now, you remember this kind of position. Keep on attacking, keep on checking, keep on driving that king up towards our way. Black to move. What do? Good. Knight g4 check. Here Schulten played king to g1. What do you think about king g3? Here you check. Knight f5 check. Very good. And after king h3, now what? Well, here you have two mates. One of them is more beautiful than the other. Queen h4 is checkmate, sure. But you can also checkmate with the three minor pieces alone. Knight f2. A beautiful mate. There's nowhere to run. So after king g1, once again, it's Morphy's move. It's your move. What do? This is one of those positions that you can actually calculate the whole way to mate. Here there's lots of things you can do, but there's only one best move. Beautiful. Knight f3 check. The right move. Even the great sacrifices of our classic masters are built in logic and the principles. G takes f3 is forced. Now what do you play? Good. Queen d4 check. King g2. Now we've already learned the main principle of this kind of position. When your opponent's king is running, you're creating a mating net. What do? Drive the king closer and closer towards your camp. all your warriors. Bring him towards your pawns. Bring him away from his defenses. The next move, queen f2 check. Excellent. King h3. What do you do now? Good. Queen takes f3 check. Only one place to go, king h4, and here white resigned the game. Here, and only here, it's time for a quiet move. Once again, think about where you'd want your queen to be. g4. That would be very nice. But g4 is taken by the knight. So move the knight out of the way. A move like knight h6 is very strong, threatening both queen g4 checkmate, and also knight f5 check drives the king closer into the black camp. This is a typical way to think. Visualize where you'd want your piece to be, and then figure out how to get it there. It's interesting that this happened twice in this game. Once with the knight on d4, we wanted the queen to be on d4, but the knight was on d4, so we sacrificed it. Knight f3 check, and then brought the queen to d4. Now we want the queen to be on g4. No problem. Move the knight out of the way. Knight h6 threatens both queen g4 checkmate and knight f5. Now the only way for white to defend mate on g4 is a move like rook g1. And now, mate in 2. Knight f5 check, once again driving the king closer to our game. King g5, and now checkmate in one move. Good. Queen h5 is checkmate. And that finishes it up.